Hey everyone, this is Steve from GamersNexus.net, and today we're looking at Logitech's new G700s high-end gaming mouse, which is a pretty crazy addition to the already high-end Logitech arsenal. And I had the chance to completely dismantle the mouse and explore its hardware, and obviously was able to game quite a bit on it as well with Rift and Shootmania. So this review will act sort of as a summarized version of the full article that's linked in the description below. And as always, let's talk about specs and then get to the hands-on and opinions. The G700s is a wireless rechargeable mouse with wired capabilities via standard micro USB connection, but it does ship with a special cable that's molded to fit the mouse more stylishly. You can use basically any micro USB connection though. The mouse has 13 buttons, LMB, RMB, MMB, and then the additional buttons, which are 4 on the left side near the thumb position, 3 in the index finger position near the left mouse button, and then the wheel will do a left-right tilt as well as the normal middle mouse click, and also some other cool stuff we'll talk about in a second. And then there are 2 buttons south of the wheel, which can be used to toggle the free spin on the wheel, or the second one will just basically do whatever you want it to do. And on that note, the free spinning wheel note, the hyper-fast microgear precision wheel is what Logitech uses, and that is just a bunch of fancy words to basically say they use a ratcheted hub that allows it to either free spin or scroll normally with the normal ratcheted motion. So it makes it ideal for users who spend a lot of time scrolling through large documents or spreadsheets. You can just hit the button, toggle it into free spin mode, and then spin it really fast and stop it when you want to stop scrolling. So that is pretty sweet. Other than buttons, the mouse uses an Avago ADNS 9800 series sensor with a 200 to 8200 DPI range, and using Logitech's drivers that I will explain in a separate video, also linked below. You can configure several DPI profiles and then cycle through them using a mouse button. So pretty good control there. You are able to configure it for basically any game you want. If you want like a sniper mode, you can do that. The same or similar sensors are used in the Genius Gila, which I reviewed, and the Logitech G600 mouse, which Patrick Lathan reviewed, and it's definitely been around the block and performs fairly well. It is a well-known sensor. It does everything that we need it to do as gamers. And while we're talking about internals, you can see in my teardown that the G700s uses higher endurance metal switches rather than the cheaper plastic T-Max switches that we're used to seeing in mice. And this is spoken for in Logitech's testing, where they target a 20 million click lifespan for the mouse, or for the buttons on the mouse, and that's actually so high that generally the plastic buttons will fail long before the switches, we were told at PAX East by Logitech. And I have to say that on the button front, the G700 uses, or G700S uses better buttons, significantly better buttons than previous Logitech mice I've used. And the G400 is it's been known to have issues with the mouse 4, mouse 5 buttons. I think it has both of those failing. This seems to be solved in the G700S, which is obviously much higher end than that one ever was anyway. Still, I wasn't too happy with the actuation of the 3 index position buttons near the left mouse, but it wasn't anything detrimental to the overall unit. I just think they could be a little more fluid. They are positioned very well, though, and they are sort of flared up in a way that makes sure you never push the wrong one. As for my opinions, I found that the grip and overall feel of the mouse was easily its biggest advantage over the other peripherals in this very competitive mouse market, and the feel is almost perfect. The rounded chassis design is much more comfortable than some of the more boxy bodies out there, like the Gila, and the buttons are all within reach and don't require any awkward flexing to use, like the G600 did, and the grip is strong and very easy to control with high DPI. So as far as grip and ergonomics, I think this is probably the best mouse I've ever used in that regard. And if price weren't an issue, I would tell everyone to go buy it just for that reason alone. The mouse has a wing extruding from below the thumb position, so you're able to rest your thumb comfortably and still reach those 4 buttons easily, and that just helps strengthen the grip that much more, and also reduces strain on your thumb. So it's one of the best designed mice I've ever used, as I said, in terms of pure ergonomics. And the rubberized, hydrophobic, materials and no fingerprint paint just help to firm up the grip even further. And it's obvious that there's a lot of quality materials in this mouse. I did have trouble moving the mouse smoothly with the cable attached, which tended to be poorly positioned and dragged along the mousing surface more than the braided cables would that are found on most other mice, including the G500s. And I've always favored wired over wireless, but this mouse sort of forces the other way around since the wire's positioning is suboptimal and produces a drag that hinders competitive play in Twitch shooters. And luckily, I did test the mouse battery on the maximum gaming so-called mode, and it lasted approximately 18 hours of mixed gaming and everyday use in testing, as described in the article, and that is including the micro sleep states it enters when you're not using the mouse for 30 seconds to a minute at a time. If there's that much time you're not using it, it enters a sleep state and conserves power. And with all that noted, the Logitech G series software does seem a lot more buggy with the G700s than other mice, and I think that's because of the battery. It's a bit of a negative. I had issues with crashing and sporadic unresponsiveness when toggling power to the mouse or changing mouse button functions, but once the mouse was configured, it's not really that big of a deal because you generally never look at the software again after initial configuration, so not a huge negative. The software has historically been fairly solid, so I do imagine it's just a matter of patching it. And at the end of the day, the mouse uses high-quality internals. It has a proven sensor, it has fantastic grip and overall feel, and has buttons that are actually within usable range. So it is expensive at $80 to $100, but if you want one of the best wireless mice out there for gaming or have specific needs for wrist or tendon problems, then this is absolutely worth looking at more carefully, and if you can get it hands-on at a store, I recommend it. For users who prefer to spend less, consider looking at the G500s we're reviewing right now, or the Genius Gila, though I'd personally favor the 500S for its superior grip. And with that, I will let you check out the full review linked in the description below and the software video, and I will see you all next time. Peace.